Despite what you might think, I've already ended the lease for our apartment. Confused. Let me explain. My mom suggested we should cancel our rental agreement, so together, we went ahead and did that while you were away on your work trip. This is unbelievable. I can't continue living with such irrational people. My mother-in-law, Linda, thought that by ending our apartment lease, I'd have no choice but to move in with them. But I'm determined not to give in to this pressure. I simply refuse. What are you even saying? You're his wife. It's expected of you, someone insisted. But my response was clear. Then I'll seek a divorce. My name is Mary, and I'm a 34-year-old who works in an office. My husband, Larry, and I tied the knot a year ago. We both work for companies that collaborate frequently, which is how we met. Working together led to us hanging out privately, eventually dating, and finally getting married a year later. Life with Larry was joyful. He's upbeat and humorous, and we shared many laughs living together. I truly believed I had married an amazing person and was overjoyed with our life together. However, I was soon to discover an unexpected side of Larry. 5 months into our marriage, we spent our first New Year's Eve at my in-laws' house. Before this, my interactions with Larry's parents had been minimal and brief. But that New Year's visit revealed their true colors. The gathering included my parents-in-law and my sisters-in-law, Nancy, who is single, and Emily, who is married with a young son, Justin. Emily's husband had gone to visit his own parents, leaving Emily and Justin with us. Until that point, I had a good impression of my in-laws, finding them as cheerful and approachable as Larry. I hoped for a pleasant and normal conversation during the visit. Unfortunately, things didn't go as expected. "Mary, could you lend me a hand?" my mother-in-law Linda asked, pulling me into the kitchen. As I followed, her friendly smile vanished, replaced by a cold look. "You're quite slow. Normally, you should have offered to help without needing to be asked," she scolded. Feeling a rush of apology, I was worried I had somehow upset her. Eager to mend the situation, I did my best to contribute and hopefully win back Linda's approval. Yet, Linda's harsh criticisms didn't stop. She accused me of acting entitled because of Larry's kindness and questioned why I was still working instead of focusing solely on family life. "Larry only agreed because you insisted, didn't he? You're not acting like a good wife at all," she scolded. She criticized me for not being more involved when visiting their house, claiming I ignored household duties and only added to Larry's burdens. Feeling hurt by Linda's relentless barbs, my spirits lifted slightly when Nancy, one of my sisters-in-law, entered the kitchen. We had shared pleasant chats before, so I hoped for her support. However, to my dismay, Nancy joined in the criticism, disparaging my cooking skills in front of everyone. This was completely unexpected, and I was stunned by her harsh words. It seemed both Linda and Nancy had chosen this moment to be particularly cruel, a side of them I hadn't seen before. The New Year's celebration at my in-laws, which I had hoped would be enjoyable, turned into a deeply uncomfortable experience. Despite the ongoing feast, I couldn't find joy in any of it. Linda and Nancy kept the conversation among themselves, discussing topics only relevant to their family, leaving me feeling excluded. Larry, oblivious to my discomfort, didn't intervene. Linda's demeanor only worsened when she noticed my disinterest, commanding me to serve drinks as if I were a servant, with no one questioning her behavior. As the evening finally ended, Larry, having had too much to drink, announced his intention to stay over. Unwilling to endure any more, I managed to get him into the car and drove us home, leaving the unpleasantness behind. The next day, I reflected on the entire ordeal, pondering the unexpected turn of events and the cold treatment I received from those I had hoped to consider family. I decided to have a conversation with Larry about the discomforting experience I had at his family's house. "Larry, Linda, and Nancy were really mean to me," I started. Larry seemed surprised and dismissive. That's hard to believe. "We were all enjoying ourselves. You're probably the only one who feels that way." I tried to explain how Linda and Nancy had said some pretty hurtful things to me in the kitchen, but Larry doubted such an event, questioning whether I was making it up. When I pressed further, he excused himself, citing a hangover and a headache, asking to delay the discussion, which he never revisited. Later, Larry mentioned we were expected at his sister's house soon, for Justin's birthday. Without considering my feelings about our last visit, he insisted I attend and even pick out Justin's birthday gift, despite my busy schedule. After much thought and despite my reservations, I selected a gift I hoped Justin would enjoy. At Justin's birthday party, my effort seemed to pay off when Justin expressed genuine joy for the present I chose. Emily, assuming Larry was behind the thoughtful gift, thanked him. I waited for Larry to correct her, but instead, he took the credit, claiming extensive research went into selecting Justin's present, leaving me astonished and unacknowledged. I was thrilled to see Justin's happiness with the gift I had carefully chosen for him. Yet my satisfaction turned to disbelief when Larry claimed the credit for the thoughtful present. Before I could process this, Linda's voice snapped me back to reality, urging me to hurry up with the cake. Confused? I asked. What cake? As I genuinely had no clue what she was referring to. Linda then shocked me by accusing me of forgetting the birthday cake she allegedly told me to prepare. I didn't hear anything about that, I protested, but my confusion only seemed to irritate her further. What kind of partner are you? Didn't you prepare the cake? She pressed, making it clear that she believed I had been informed. Admitting I had no knowledge of the cake only drew disappointed glances from everyone. Linda then labeled me as negligent, causing distress not just for me but for Justin, who burst into tears, upset over the absence of a birthday cake. Linda's consolation to Justin, blaming the oversight on me, only added to my dismay. How could you be so thoughtless? She scolded, as if the mistake was mine. Looking to Larry for support, I hoped he'd clarify the misunderstanding, knowing well that Linda had never asked me about the cake. To my astonishment, Larry sided with Linda, accusing me of being a poor wife and implying I had intentionally upset his family. Just when the situation couldn't seem more dire, Nancy stepped in with a cake she had supposedly bought, just in case. Justin's mood instantly changed for the better at the sight of it, and Linda lavished praise on Nancy for her foresight. Nancy then took a dig at me, suggesting she had anticipated my negligence. It was in this moment I realized the trap that had been set for me. Linda and Nancy had orchestrated this scenario to paint me in a negative light, cleverly manipulating the situation to their advantage. The situation took an unexpected turn when everyone blamed me for forgetting the birthday cake, branding me as a negligent wife. There wasn't a single ally in sight. Even Larry joined in, accusing me of causing distress to Justin and declaring that I should leave as a form of punishment. You shouldn't expect to stay for the meal or enjoy the cake after causing such trouble, he said, supported by Linda, Anne, and Nancy's insistence that I go home. With no other option, I left Anne's house, embarking on the long journey back to our place alone, reflecting on the irony of having selected Justin's present during my work time. That evening, Larry chose to stay at his parents' house instead of returning home. When he finally did come back the next day, he confronted me with allegations of harassing Linda and Nancy and deliberately forgetting the birthday cake, as if I had some vendetta against his family. You're a terrible wife, he concluded, taking Linda's word over mine. I was stunned, not just by the accusations, but by his unwillingness to hear my side of the story. Wait, you're taking their word over mine? And you're accusing me of neglect when you claimed credit for the gift I chose for Justin? I challenged. Larry brushed it off, saying it didn't matter since the gift was from both of us, missing the point entirely. It dawned on me that Larry was more interested in maintaining his image with his family than in standing by me. His actions and words stripped away any affection I had for him, leaving me to contemplate a future without this marriage. If this pattern continued, I realized seeking a divorce might be the only way forward. As I mulled over the idea of leaving, an incident occurred that made up my mind for me. I had been away on a business trip for 2 days, unaware of any developments at home. Upon my return, I was met with the shocking sight of Larry's belongings neatly packed into cardboard boxes. Confused and alarmed, I reached out to Larry, who abruptly ended the call with a promise to return home soon. My frustration grew as I awaited his explanation, but to my surprise, Linda, Anne, and Nancy were with him when he arrived. Larry, what's happening? Why are your things packed, and why are they here? I demanded. Larry, with a smirk, announced, We're moving out. Moving? To where exactly? I asked, bewildered. To my mother's, he stated plainly, as if it was the most natural decision. Stunned, I protested. Why are you deciding this without discussing it with me? Linda interjected, accusing me of being childish and insisting I should simply agree with Larry's decisions. However, I stood my ground, emphasizing that as a married couple, Larry and I should make such significant decisions together. To my utter disbelief, Larry revealed that he and his mother had already terminated our apartment lease while I was away. This revelation left me speechless. I couldn't believe Larry would make such a drastic move without my consent, effectively leaving me with no say in the matter. Faced with the reality of moving in with Larry's family, a prospect I was adamantly against, I reached my breaking point. You're suggesting that as his wife, I have no choice but to follow? I clarified. Exactly, Linda responded, convinced of her argument. In that moment, with clarity and conviction, I declared, then I'll divorce him. It was clear that staying in a relationship where my opinions were disregarded and where unilateral decisions were made without my input was not an option. The decision to leave was no longer just a consideration. It was a resolution. When I declared my intention to divorce, Larry was visibly shocked, unable to believe I was serious. You can't be serious about wanting a divorce, he stammered, but I firmly stated my resolve, tired of the endless drama with his family. Larry's face paled at my words, and the room fell silent until Emily and Nancy, unable to contain themselves any longer, objected vehemently to my decision. You can't divorce! Who will look after our father if you leave? Emily demanded, unwittingly revealing their true motives. It turned out their father had recently suffered a fall and required care, which they had hoped I would provide. Their reaction confirmed my suspicions that they had been plotting to burden me with the responsibility of caring for their father, a task none of them wished to undertake due to their self-centeredness. Their accusation of me being a useless wife only fueled my determination to leave. So, it's clear now. You were hoping I'd be the one to care for him, I pointed out, exposing their selfish intentions. Their defensive and aggressive responses did nothing but reinforce my decision. As the argument escalated, Emily and Nancy, in their frustration, suggested I might as well divorce and leave, thinking their words would hurt me. Instead, I took them up on their offer, starting to pack my belongings right then and there. This sudden turn of events caused Larry and Linda to panic, realizing the gravity of the situation and the inconvenience my departure would cause them. They scrambled to retract the harsh words, with Larry pleading for me to reconsider the divorce, and Linda suggesting a compromise where I could help by becoming a full-time caretaker for their father, even trying to sweeten the deal by painting it as an opportunity for me to become a stay-at-home mom. Facing this last-ditch attempt to manipulate me into staying, I stood firm. Unfortunately, I began, ready to make my final stand against their selfish demands, signaling the end of my patience and the start of a new chapter for me, free from their manipulations. Declining the role of a stay-at-home mom, I revealed to them something perhaps unknown. My salary exceeded Larry's due to my career progression at the company. I had been the main contributor to our apartment's rent, which wasn't cheap. This revelation highlighted the irony of their disdain for me, despite my financial contribution exceeding that of their own family member. With nothing more to add, I bid them farewell and left, leaving them in visible shock. I temporarily moved back to my parents' home and promptly sought legal counsel to initiate divorce proceedings against Larry. Larry, looking defeated, quietly consented to the divorce. In a twist of fate, Linda's attempt to delegate the care of their father to Emily and Nancy backfired as they outright refused the responsibility and chose to distance themselves instead. Moreover, Emily's personal life unraveled as she faced a substantial alimony demand following her spouse discovering her infidelity. Nancy, accused Justin to living under her mother's roof and relying on Linda for morning wake-up calls, struggled with independence. Her habitual tardiness, a result of her newfound freedom, ultimately cost her job. Larry, coerced back to the family home by Linda due to his status as the eldest son, found himself bearing the brunt of caring for their father. Overwhelmed by the dual responsibilities of work and caregiving, his exhaustion was palpable. Tensions between Larry and Linda escalated, leading to frequent arguments that disturbed the neighborhood peace to such an extent that police checks became a routine, isolating them further as the community distanced themselves from the family chaos. In contrast, I embraced a fresh start, securing a pleasant apartment close to my workplace. Enjoying my independence, I settled into a comfortable life, free from the turmoil that once clouded my days. The unfolding consequences for Larry and his family served as a stark reminder of the repercussions of their actions, affirming my decision to leave and rebuild my life on my own terms. I'm contemplating picking up a new hobby, especially since I'm not keen on diving into another relationship anytime soon. The whole experience with Larry and his family has been eye-opening. They had this tendency to dump all responsibilities on me, painting me as the villain in every scenario. Larry, despite earning less than me, had the audacity to be domineering, which was just pathetic. And then there were Anne and Linda, each wrapped up in their self-centered worlds, making it almost unbearable to be around them. However, seeing them entangle themselves in their own mess was somewhat satisfying. I'm rooting for Mary to discover a new passion or hobby that brings her joy and fulfillment. After everything she's been through, she deserves all the happiness and peace the world has to offer. Here's to Mary's fresh start and to her finding contentment and excitement in life's next chapter. Thanks to everyone who stuck around till the end. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates. Catch you in the next video!